The sun hung low over the Wyoming plains, pouring molten gold across miles of open land. Dust rose in lazy swirls from the dirt road leading into the town of Dry Creek, a place where men worked hard, women talked harder, and gossip spread faster than prairie fire. And today, gossip had something new to feed on: the arrival of the bride from Kansas. They said she was coming to marry Sam Cooper, a rancher known for his quiet strength, a man who could break wild horses and mend fences with the same steady patience. Sam wasn't rich, but his word was gold, and his ranch, though small, was respected. But when the stagecoach rolled into town, the whispers began before the dust even settled. She stepped down, careful and graceful despite her size. Clara Mae Dawson, a woman of about 25, wore a plain blue dress and carried a simple carpetbag. Her cheeks were round and rosy from the long ride, her dark hair pinned neatly beneath a bonnet. Children stared. A few women exchanged looks. "That's her," one said, her voice low but sharp. "Bless her heart," another murmured. "Poor thing. I heard she's bigger than a heifer." Clara pretended not to hear. She'd learned long ago that the world had plenty to say about women like her, and none of it kind. Still, she straightened her shoulders, smiled, and walked toward the man she'd been corresponding with for months. Sam stood by his wagon, hat in hand. He was taller than she expected, with sun-browned skin, kind eyes, and a faint scar on his chin. His boots were dusty, his shirt rolled up at the sleeves. When their eyes met, the world seemed to hold its breath. "Miss Dawson?" he asked, voice low and steady. "Yes, sir," she said softly. "Clara Mae." He dipped his hat. "Welcome to Dry Creek." The road to the Cooper Ranch stretched long and quiet, save for the creak of wagon wheels and the distant calls of meadowlarks. Sam drove, occasionally glancing her way. Clara sat beside him, hands folded neatly in her lap. "I reckon the journey was rough," he said finally. "It wasn't so bad," she replied. "Though Kansas seems a long way from here." He smiled a little. "It sure is." She studied him from the corner of her eye, the calloused hands on the reins, the easy way he sat, the faint kindness beneath his calm expression. She wondered what he saw when he looked at her. Did he see a woman worth marrying, or just the letters they'd shared? That evening, Clara stood on the porch, watching the sunset set the plains ablaze. Sam had shown her the small ranch house, sturdy, modest, clean, and told her she'd have the east bedroom until they married proper at the church in town. He was polite, almost too polite, and that politeness frightened her more than cruelty ever could. Over supper, they ate in silence for a while: beans, bread, and fried salt pork. Clara had offered to cook, but Sam insisted she rest. "I'm used to work, Mr. Cooper," she said with a small smile. "I can cook better than I can rest." He chuckled quietly. "We'll see about that." After dinner, she washed the dishes while he fed the horses. The night was cool, and the stars hung heavy above the open land. She stood outside for a moment, clutching her shawl around her shoulders, and whispered to herself, "You can do this, Clara Mae." She didn't notice Sam watching from the barn door, his expression unreadable, the moonlight glinting off his eyes. Over the next week, Clara settled into ranch life. She rose early, helped with chores, cooked meals hearty enough to feed a dozen men, and even managed to milk the ornery cow named Bessie without getting kicked. The ranch hands, mostly older men, grew fond of her quickly. She had a laugh that carried across the fields and a kindness that made even the roughest cowboy mind his manners. But the women in town weren't so kind. At the general store, she overheard two of them whispering near the flour barrels. "Can you imagine him marrying her? She'll eat him out of house and home. Lord forgive me, but I don't see what he saw in her." Clara pretended to be interested in the price of sugar, her eyes stinging. When she returned home, she hid in the kitchen and baked bread until the tears stopped. That evening, she found Sam mending a fence. "Mr. Cooper," she began softly, "you don't have to go through with it." He looked up, surprised. "Go through with what?" "The marriage." Her voice trembled. "I know what people say. I'm not what folks picture when they think of a rancher's wife. I'm not pretty or delicate. I can't dance or wear fancy dresses. I'm just me." She tried to smile but failed. No one marries a fat girl, sir. But I have a big heart, and I can cook, and I'd have tried to make you happy. The silence that followed was so deep, she could hear the wind whispering through the sagebrush. Sam stood slowly, his face unreadable. Clara Mae, he said at last, stepping closer. You listen to me. She lifted her eyes, tears glistening. I didn't send for a cook, he said. And I sure didn't send for someone to make other folks happy. I wrote to you because your letters made me feel like I wasn't alone. You talked about the land, the stars, the smell of rain. You wrote like you loved life itself. I reckon I fell in love with that before I even knew what you looked like. Her breath caught. He took off his hat, running a hand through his hair. I don't care what they say in town. You're the kind of woman a man builds a life with, strong, honest, and full of heart. That's worth more than all the pretty dresses in Wyoming. Her tears fell freely now, but she was smiling through them. Samuel Cooper, she whispered, you surely know how to ruin a woman's good cry. He grinned. Then I'll keep trying. The wedding took place 2 days later at the small white church by the creek. The whole town showed up, drawn by curiosity more than kindness. The pews were packed, and the whispers buzzed like locusts when Clara walked down the aisle in a simple cream dress she'd sewn herself. Sam stood at the front, eyes steady, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. When the preacher asked if he took her for his wife, his answer rang clear through the church. I do, with all my heart. And when it was Clara's turn, her voice shook but didn't falter. I do too, sir. For always. The preacher declared them husband and wife, and as Sam leaned in to kiss her, a hush fell over the room. Then someone, old Tom Jenkins, the blacksmith, started clapping. Within seconds, the whole church joined in, cheers echoing through the rafters. Outside, as they stepped into the sunlight, a few women wiped their eyes. Maybe, just maybe, they saw something more than size that day. They saw love brave enough to stand tall in a town full of judgment. Life on the Cooper Ranch was never easy, but together, they made it beautiful. Clara planted a garden that bloomed wild and colorful every spring. Sam built her a porch swing where they'd sit under the stars, her head resting on his shoulder, his hand wrapped around hers. Whenever travelers passed through, they spoke of the rancher and his wife, the woman with a big laugh, a bigger heart, and the best cooking west of the Mississippi. Years later, when Dry Creek grew quiet and the gossipers' voices faded, folks still told the story of Clara Mae Dawson, the bride who arrived with nothing but hope, and the rancher who saw the beauty the world refused to see. And on cool summer nights, when the wind rustled through the tall grass, some swore you could still hear her laughter echoing across the plains, soft, strong, and free. Because love, once planted deep, grows wild.